Our next speaker, for many of us, we have been introduced to the concept of the Sheva Mitzvot, the 7 laws of Noah and Torah. I know that it was because of this next gentleman that I was introduced to the concept of the 7 laws of Noah, and I began attending. Actually, I met Vendyl when I was in broadcast radio in Dallas, Texas, years ago. And we had a hole come up in our schedule, and we had to find a last-minute replacement. And I know a lot of you have heard this story, but maybe some of you haven't. We had to find a guest in a hurry, so I asked a friend of mine if they knew anybody interesting. And she said she was a person who specialized in booking very unusual speakers, very interesting speakers. And she said, "Oh yeah, there's a gentleman that's here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Vendyl Jones." And I said, "Isn't that the archaeologist?" And she said, "Yeah, he lives here." And I said, "Oh my, I didn't know he lived there at the time." So we called him, we got him on the show. We were supposed to have him on for 1 hour. We ended up having him on for 2 hours. And after that, he and I adjourned to the cafeteria in the downstairs of our office building. And Vendyl and I sat and talked for another 2 or 3 hours of what I eventually learned was Torah. Even though he's known for his archaeological pursuits, to me, Vendyl's biggest impact has been he has turned people to Torah. And he did so for me, and I will be eternally grateful for that. So Vendyl's going to talk to us today about the history of the Noahide movement. So I want to give you our next lecturer, speaker. He's the real Vendyl Jones.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's been since our first meeting. Okay, thank you. The 30th anniversary of the assassination of John Kennedy. We've been over a lot of territory together. Today I'm speaking on the history, or Bnei Noah throughout history. And the very first covenant that God made with man appears in Genesis chapter 9, verse 8 through 13. God spoke to Noah and his son, saying, "And behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the fowl, the cattle, the beast of the earth. From you will go out of the ark and every beast of the earth, and I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh any more be cut off by the waters of the flood, neither shall any more a flood to destroy the earth." And God said, "This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be as a token of a covenant between me and the earth." The Noahide Covenant of 7 commandments was made 1,657 years after the creation of Adam, whereas the Sinai Covenant with Israel and the 613 commandments was not made until 2448 from Adam, a mere 791 years later. For well nigh 8 centuries, all 70 families of humankind were known as Noahites, or the children of Noah. Actually, 6 of these commandments were given to Adam, and only the 7th given to Noah. To correlate these dates according to the corrected common era, or actually common era, the flood was 4,190 years, and Mount Sinai was 3,220 years before the Christian era, 2008. The 7 laws of Noah are included in the 613 commandments given at Sinai. Still in all, the 10 commandments were not an elaboration on the 7 laws given to Noah. In actuality, they sound similar, but the Noahide laws are, in some respects, distinctly different from the 10 commandments. For example, abortion is not forbidden in the so-called 10 commandments. Yet in the 7 laws of Noah, it is stated, he that sheds man's blood in man, I will avenge. Hence we see that the 7 laws of Noah were indeed distinctly different from the so-called 10 commandments. The 5 books of Moses, the Torah, or in Greek called the Pentateuch, is a complete word of God. Its truth unfolds as the opening petals of a rose until it compasses all the entire Tanakh, the prophets, and the holy writings of the Jewish scriptures. And the Torah became flesh and dwelt among us. That's quoted in the book of John, but it's actually in the Greek "kihos logos prosotheos," that the Torah existed before God existed. The Genesis was personified in 7 men. They were Adam, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. This is the genesis of the revelation of Torah of all creation for all the human families in the earth, of all times and places of their existence. The book of Genesis alone contains and conceals every rudiment of the revelation that was given to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. It also contains, sort of tucked away and hidden, all that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Even more, Genesis also contains the entire that are in the prophets and the holy writings, or in what the Christians mistakenly call the Old Testament. All of it is in the book of Genesis. That is to say, the first 50 chapters of the Jewish scripture contains the seed particles that sprout and grow into the entire Tanakh, or what the Christians again mistakenly call the Old Testament. The patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their descendants were Noahites under the Noahide Covenant until the Hebrews of the Jacob clan were separated from the 70 nations at Mount Sinai. This separation, Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, from Amei HaOlam, the peoples of the world, did not negate Israelites from remaining Noahites and subject to the 7 laws of the first covenant. The Mosaic covenant did not replace the Noahide covenant. The Sinai covenant was given in tandem to the Throught covenant. Sinai did not replace Throught. The Noahide laws are unrestricted and universal. The Noahide laws are the foundations for the Sinai Code. Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz said, the 7 Noahide laws are Judaism universal. Inversely, and to the opposite side, the 613 commandments, not all but for the most part, are emphatically restricted to Israel. The Sinai judicial decrees are directed only to the people of Israel. The only exception is when a commandment is addressed to Adam or Ish, which means a man. As we see in Deuteronomy 21 or 24:1 and Leviticus 1:2. If any man of you brings a sacrifice, or if any man of you had taken a wife and married her, these usually occur with a particular commandment is corresponding to a Noahide law. These restrictions extend farther than just the people of Israel. Inside the community, the 600 laws fan out and dovetail in all directions. Some of the law apply only to men, while others apply solely to women. Certain apply only to kings, while others are directed exclusively to the judges or the Sanhedrin. Some of the 613 commandments are strictly to the high priest, while different laws are to the thousands of common priests. Meanwhile, other 613 commandments are exclusively to the Levites. Nevertheless, within the Levi family, certain Levitical laws, particularly different from the sons of Merari, or the sons of Gershon, or the sons of Kohath. Some of the 613 commandments are agricultural laws that only apply to farmers. Even the prophet Balaam recognized that the Israelites were set apart from other peoples. Numbers chapter 23:9. From the top of the hills I see him. From the hills I behold him. Lo, this people shall dwell alone and not be reckoned among the nations. If Israel is not to be reckoned among the nations, why is Israel seated in the United Nations? There's a hall in the UN where each nation displays their ancient gods. Israel put a casting of the Torah scroll, and the Arab nations demanded it be removed. So the image of the Torah was moved outside the building. This is most apropos that the God of Israel is not reckoned among the God of the Gentile nations. The other 613 commandments given solely to the Jacobson family, etched in sapphire stones and hidden away in the ark of God. Hitherto they remain with us, winding around the spindle of the Torah scroll. They seemingly sound out loud and clear the imperatives, thou shalt and thou shalt not. Whereas in contrast, the 7 laws of Noah are not so distinctly and dramatically listed as in Israel's Torah. The Noahide laws are present in an allusion drawn from the dynamics of primal human suffering, stories etched in flesh and blood. The drama of Adam and Eve and the tragedy of the violations in what I call the tale of the snake, the antidote of Eden, dramatizes and acts out the first 3 laws of the Noahide codes against blasphemy, idolatry, and theft. Yet it does not plainly state, thou shalt not blaspheme, thou shalt not idolize, or thou shalt not steal. The next question: what was God's mood and disposition when he gave the 10 commandments at Mount Sinai? All translation of the 10 commandments failed to convey the tenor of the language as it is written. The 10 commandments given to Israel appear in sledgehammer commands: thou shalt and thou shalt not. Rabbi Eliezer of Ben Yehuda points out that the tenor of these top 10 come across as harsh imperatives. Yet, in the Hebrew verb house, they do not incur in the pi'al house, which is imperative, but rather in the soft, gentle, buoyant, almost pillow talk tones of the pa'al or the kal house of the verb. They sound something like pillow talk intonations. Give me your ears, O Israel, that I might whisper. I am the Lord your God. Love me. Certainly you will not have other gods. Surely you will regard my Sabbath and hallow it. In 3760 BCE, or the year 1, going back to the tale of the snake, the narrative and connotations of Adam and Eve's own violation were etched not in sapphire stones, but in the souls and consciences of man. That still small voice whispers the austere consequences of our primal parents and their own transgression. We were all embodied in Adam and Eve, physically, spiritually, psychologically. And Adam and Eve remain hitherto embodied in us. It's not a question if I were there. For in actuality, we were all there in the Garden of Eden. Somewhere in each of us there is an Adam, an exile from the garden in need of restoration. The tale of the snake, that's T-A-L-E, not T-A-I-L. The tale of the snake incident in Genesis chapter 3 is the curse of the law. This is the single solitary section in the entire Torah specified as a curse of the Torah. The snake, Eve, Adam, and even the ground and vegetation were cursed. Paul's reference in Galatians 3:13, the curse of the law, is referring exclusively to this precise section of the tail of the snake in the Torah. Theologians who are totally ignorant of the Torah because they totally ignore the Torah. They're even more ignorant of the Torah in particular because they ignore rabbinical commentary. They have taken this single restriction of Pauline's statement, the curse of the law in Genesis 3, and spread it like mayonnaise over the entire book of Moses and in fact over the entire Jewish scriptures that they scathingly and sarcastically refer to as the Old Testament. The next stage in history we find in the 4th century of the Common Era, and that was by St. Hieronymus or Jerome. In Ecclesiastes Historica stated that the children of Noah are far greater enemies of the gospel than are the Jews. So the Noahites were around in Jerome's time. In 1776 CE, 4,536 years from Adam, Haym Solomon, the unsung hero of the American Republic, saw Rhode Island as an example, as a pattern for a nation established on the concept of the 7 laws of Noah, a nation established with freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. Now, I'd like to clarify one thing here, that nowhere in the founding laws of this nation does it call for a separation of church and state. Simply states that that there shall be no official government established by, or church established by the state. Haym Solomon, as I might point out if I need to, was Jewish. And he designed the national seal, which you can see on the back of a $1 bill, and financed George Washington in the American Revolution. Haym Solomon took Hamilton, Jefferson, and Adam to France to secure a letter from Lafayette, who was also Jewish, to turn over the French arms to General George Washington for the war against the British. Solomon loaned Washington 600,000 British sterling to finance the American Revolution, a debt that was never repaid, even though in the first Congress, the Continental Congress, it was stated that the heirs of Haym Solomon must be paid this 600,000 British sterling. Later, Solomon saved the Republic from financial collapse. A U.S. postage stamp in 1974 bore the accreditation to Haym Solomon. The grandees, the book, the grandees relate the account of Haym Solomon's contribution. Contrary to popular thought, the founding fathers of the United States were not practicing born-again Christians. They were for the most part, theist or deist. They were also all members of the Masonic order. The Masonic order was originally called the Order of Bnei Noah, or the Order of the Sons of Noah. Because of their interest in rebuilding the Temple of Solomon and restoring Jewish temple worship, they became known as a Masonic order. Arthur Pike, who's considered the father of Freemasonry in America, wrote an 800-page book for Masons, rightly declaring that the New Testament was not to be considered scripture. For this reason, many evangelicals are opposed to Freemasonry. The Masons staged the Boston Tea Party. The Masons, Paul Revere was a Mason. The Masonic Lodge of France purchased and built the Statue of Liberty. So we find that there's no reference of Jesus Christ or Christianity appeared in any documents related to the Declaration of Independence or Constitution, nor the Bill of Rights. The entire codex of these documents embraced the 7 laws of Noah. In this, America was unique. The Republic of the United States of America was not established as a Christian nation. The founding fathers were not, quote, born-again Christians. Bnei Noah is not something new. It's actually the oldest original covenant that God made with mankind. In reality, it's not even a religion. The 7 laws of Noah are universal, social, moral code, obligatory on all mankind, in deference of religion, race, color, creed, or national or ethnic origin. In 1985 and 86, President Ronald Reagan issued an official document on April the 10th, 1985, affirming that the Republic of the United States of America was founded on the precepts of the 7 laws of Noah. On November the 20th, 1987, Reagan issued a second similar statement. On the 7th day of the year, 5750, which is April 30th, 1990 CE, the Institute of Judeo-Christian Research, now renamed Vendyl Jones Research Institute, rented the Fort Worth Convention Center for reestablishing Bnei Noah. Sephardic Chief Rabbi Mordecai Eliyahu sent Rabbi Menachem Bursting from Israel to reestablish Bnei Noah under the authority of the Rabbinate of Israel. Mr. Yitzhak Oked was brought as a translator. This is the first time Bnei Noah had been formally exist since Constantine outlawed Bnei Noah in the Council of Nicaea in 325. Informally, Bnei Noah never ceased to exist. My mother, Vera, my uncle Clyde, and grandfather Isaac Wainscott were Bnei Noah, even though they never heard the word. Bnei Noah. When my mother learned she was pregnant, she came home, opened the Bible to Genesis 1:1, rolled up a newspaper like a megaphone, and began to read Genesis into her stomach because she believed the fetus could learn. By the time I was born, she had read through the entire Tanakh, so-called Old Testament, plus the 14 books of the Apocrypha, and we're back to Numbers chapter 19. Growing up, my mother read the Bible 1 hour each evening to me and my brother Jerry. She never once read a single verse from the New Testament. My grandfather, Isaac Wayne Scott, was churched, put into harem from a Baptist church for denying the authority of the New Testament. Immediately after the Bnei Noah conference in Fort Worth in 1990, over 50 groups in Scandinavia, known as the Tents of Shem, declared themselves Bnei Noah. Others in Australia, South Africa, and England, headed by the late Reverend Ralph Mount. Reverend Mount was a missionary under the Sudan Interior Missions. And it established 18 churches. After Bnei Noah was established, he returned to the Sudan and made all of them Bnei Noah congregations. The Israeli construction company Bnei was doing a construction project in Nigeria. One of the Nigerian employees told his supervisor, "We're not having any more missionaries in our churches. Everyone has some different doctrine they are pushing. We're just going to start studying the book of Genesis, studied through the entire Jewish Bible." The supervisor asked him if he had heard of Bnei Noah, and he hadn't. The supervisor notified the rabbinate of Israel, and the rabbinate sent a rabbi and made 40 Nigerian churches Noahide congregations. In 2003, there was a Bnei Noah meeting in India attended by over 3,500 Noahides. Over 250,000 Druze in the Golan Heights in Israel and Jebel Druze in Lebanon and other countries proclaim themselves to be Bnei Noah. They always were. They always were. They just made a prayer, hey, here we are and here we're always been. The Druze are descendants of Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. And on January 1st, 1991, or the year 2751 from Adam, the 102nd Congress of the United States of America, in the first session, being held in Washington on Tuesday, the 3rd day of January, 1991. The joint resolution to designate March 26, 1991 as Education Day USA. It reads as follows. Whereas the Congress recognizes the historic tradition and ethnic values and principles which are the basis of civilization and upon which basis of civilized society upon which our great nation was founded. Whereas these ethnical values and principles have the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, which are known as the 7 Noahide laws. Whereas without these ethnic principles and values of civilization stands in serious peril of returning to chaos. Whereas society is profoundly concerned with the weakening of these principles that has resulted in the crisis that belingered and threatened the fabric of civilized society. Whereas the justified preoccupation with these crises must not let the citizens of this nation lose sight of the responsibility to transmit the historic ethnical values from our distinguished past to the generation of the future. Whereas the Lubavitcher movement has fostered and promoted these ethnic principles throughout the world. Whereas Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, leader of the Lubavitch movement, is universally respected and revered. On his 80th birthday, falls on March 26, 1991. Whereas a tribute of this great spiritual leader, the Rebbe, on his 90th year will be seen as one of education and giving. This year, which will turn education to charity and return the world to the moral and ethnic values contained in the 7 laws of Noah. And whereas this reflected in the international sign by the President of the United States and the heads of state, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled that March of 26, 1991, and start of the 90th year of Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, leader of the worldwide Lubavitch movement, this is designated as Education Day, USA. The President is requested to issue a proclamation calling on the people of the United States to observe this day with proper ceremonies and activities. This crisis that belingers and threatens the fabric of civilized society and peril that returns to crisis. Whereas the preoccupation with these must let the citizens of this station, not let the citizens of this nation lose sight of their responsibility to transmit the historical ethnic values from our distinguished past to the generations of the future. This was signed by Thomas Foley, Speaker of the House, and Robert Byrd, Speaker of the Senate, and President George H. Bush. What is Bnei Noah, and what are the 7 laws of Noah? If you cannot answer these questions, do not feel insulted or ashamed. You ask the average person on the street, clergyman, academic professor, any attorney or judge, you will be dismayed at how few people can answer either or both of these questions. If one cannot so much as name the 7 laws of Noah, how can they know that they observe them? For this reason, this small paper is to help not only know what the 7 laws of Noah are, so you may adhere to them, but how you can have a part in the propagation and dissemination of these principles. This can give you knowledge and understanding for the guidelines in your personal life and the benefit of the world as a whole. The new Republic of America was unique and different from all other nations of the world at that time. All nations in the Western civilization were either church states or state churches. In the Middle East, nations were primarily Muslim. In the Far East, even the smallest nations had their ethnic national religions. The greatest difference between the establishment of the Republic of the United States in America and other nations happened by metamorphic change internally. Originally, the 13 colonies were extension of the European churches, with the exception of Rhode Island, which was established by Roger Williams as a religious free state. Each other colony was church affiliated. King Charles granted a charter to Rhode Island as a Baptist colony, and Roger Williams made a trip to England and had the charter changed to a religious free state. It's difficult to understand why the garb of world history seems to be stitched together with a bloody needle of religious wars. More human lives have been sacrificed on the altars of religious wars than any other cause. It goes even today. North Island, the murder of civilians as a war between the Protestant and Catholics. In Bosnia and later Kosovo, in the name of ethnic cleansing, over 200,000 innocent civilians on both sides are dying in the Orthodox Catholic Muslim war. In the Middle East, 5 major wars have been waged against the Jewish state by their Islamic natures. That conflict has brought the death of hundreds of thousands of Muslims and Jews alike. Even within the Islam, Sunni and Shiite Muslims are killing one another, as was in the case in the Iraq-Iran war over a decade ago. The PLO Hamas are murdering other Palestinians who are accused of collaboration with the Israelis. The PLO and Hamas capture and torture each other in their vie for power and control. Islamic fundamentalism terrorizes the established civilization and Muslim government. Man is the only creature on earth that is deemed on destruction of its own kind. This senseless slaughter is committed in the name of the so-called religion. Dogmatic religion can short-circuit your mind and blow all the fuses of rational reasoning. When we look back over the bloody stream of time, in the 20th century alone, things have not changed. World War I was initiated to restore the Holy Roman Empire. The Ottoman Turks murdered 1.6 million Armenian Christian civilians. World War II and the Holocaust were perpetrated by the Nazis' final solution to the Jewish problem. 140 million died in Hitler's solution of the Jewish problem. Religion in Soviet Union was atheism. Karl Marx thought that religion is the opium of the people. To eliminate the opiate, the communists murdered millions of their own people, not to mention even more millions of others' people. This was also repeated in Cambodia. Saddam Hussein murdered over 1 million Iranians with weapons of mass destruction. Several thousand of his own Kurds were gassed, and thousands of his own Sunni Iraqis during his reign of terror. When the Israelis destroyed the nuclear plant in Osaka, Iraq, they brought home 500 kilograms of rich plutonium. At that time, that was more than half of the world's supply. This is to name only a few of the ugliest, hideous, outrageous tragedies of the 20th century, which is on the ground with every continent with landmass of blood and corpses. Why, oh God, and how is this pillage and bleak devastation of human life done in your name? Not only do the wars and savage humanity, yet even more the violent murders, rapes, white-collar embezzlements, murderous abortions, sexual perversion, blasphemies, and idolatries. These mores are not only accepted as a norm by society, but in an unjust judicial system that not only permits such barbarous violations, but also makes laws to protect them. To be politically correct, PC, in today's society is reduced to scoffing at the Bible in the name of scholarship. In every level of religious education, this scoffership has replaced scholarship, expelling God from our educational system in the name of freedom from religion rather than freedom of religion. To these politically correct people, all the beauties of creation are the result of evolution without a creator. While earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, death by lightning, and devastating floods, they call the acts of God. Religion is not the answer. God forbid. Religion is much more the cause of wars, blasphemies, idolatry. Mere religion short circuits your brain. Religion hands over your ability to think for yourself to a clergy who finds it hard to resist exerting mind control over you for his or his institution's agenda or interests. God forbid that we substitute mere religion in our educational system instead of a simple awareness of the Creator of this beautiful creation and the simple 7 laws of social consciousness and moral conduct embedded in them. Sometimes people are shocked when I honestly state that I'm not religious. Religion interferes with my faith, my personal direct relation with the living God and with my Creator. Religion is horizontal while faith is vertical. The 7 laws of Noah landscapes a vertical faith into a horizontal relationship and a simple moral social code. The solution to this dilemma lies in educating people to know and guard the 7 laws of Noah that the Creator gave Noah and his children. Humanity has departed so far from these 7 laws that people forgot these eternal God-given principles. Clergymen, religious professors, and the average person usually cannot name the 7 Noahide laws. One cannot forget something he never knew, any more than he can return from a place he's never been. Neither can we observe the 7 laws of Noah if we can't even name them. The 7 laws of Noah are not a religion, nor is Bnei Noach a religion. Bnei Noach is not something you join. We are already the children of Noah. They transcend mere religion and go beyond the norm, ethnic, and religious mores. The Noahide laws far supersede mere religion. They are universal and timeless. The most ancient laws, moral principles, and social values state in some form the 7 laws of Noah. This is important. The Code of Hammurabi embodies the 7 Noahide laws. We are told that Hammurabi was contemporary with Abraham. They both were from the same time and region of Mesopotamia. The word Hammurabi is not a name. Hammurabi is a title. It can be interpreted as the Moreh, teacher, Rabbi, which means a great teaching rabbi. If you change a name and remove the article ha and spell it backwards, it becomes Ibrahim, the Arabic name for the form of Abraham. So Hammurabi and Abraham were perhaps not only contemporary from the same time and region, perhaps Abraham was Hammurabi. Native Americans were misnamed Indians. The Native American had a Noahide moral code much higher than the missionaries who called the Indians savages and came to convert them to Christianity. The Native American culture and religion was most superb, an example of the 7 laws of Noah. The Native Americans believed in one God, one great spirit, the creator of all things that dwells in all creation, both organic and inorganic, both earthly and heavenly. Adair's History of the American Indian was written in 1735. He shows the Hebraic and Judaic principles in their ceremonial customs, their ethnic values, and their social orders. The greatest weakness of these Native Americans that led to their demise, that they had no concept of lying or swearing falsely. They believed that white man's words were true. These beautiful people did not even have a word for lie. They said, white man speaks with a forked tongue. This allusion reflects back to the story of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Adair points out that the chanting of their ceremonial traditions recite the tetragrammaton Yud-He, Vav-He in the various rhythm and meters, shows that these Premiel had a knowledge of the Hebrew unpronounceable name of the God of Israel. However, they never pronounced all four letters together. They separated the cantations with a na or me. This, according to Jewish tradition, sanctified God's name and prohibits blaspheming the name of God. Strange as it may seem, the Native Americans not only observed the 7 laws of Noah, they had traditional observances that were not given to Israel till Mount Sinai. From time immemorial, mankind has known good from evil. Conscience tells us what is right and what is wrong. The 7 laws of Noah are instilled in human nature. Yet, culture, ethnic, political, and economic, and national, and especially religious observance can overcloud the 7 laws of Noah instilled in each of us. Let's clear the fog and learn the 7 laws of Noah. All 7 laws of Noah are contained in the first 11 chapters of Genesis. However, 6 were given to Adam, and only the 7th was given to Noah. Thank you.